Hello, I'm Kats, and welcome to today's video. So once again, the portal is alight with the lovely blue hue, meaning it is once again time to pull some Ancient Shards for a lovely 2x. I'm not gonna lie, Plarium did do us a little dirty because 2x Ancients is happening literally just before the next fusion starts, and the next fusion looks really solid. I'm definitely gonna go for him. I mean, I go for every fusion regardless, but he looks like a very solid A+ champion, but we'll talk about him on Monday when he joins the fray. But yeah, it would have been nice for him to be associated with 2x Ancients, which is of course the most accessible form of shard pulling for a majority of the player base. So with that in mind, we don't really have a big purpose for pulling aside from it just being 2x Ancients. Boosted rates. I'm still looking for some non-void legendaries, so I'll be happy to take whatever I can get. And then there's a legendary tome, chaos ore up for grabs and stuff, but we are targeting the 5500 node in this particular session, so we're trying to get the relic fragments. I could go for the mythical tome as well, honestly, just because, but I think I have like 25 or so mythical tomes at the moment, because believe it or not, despite how lucky you may or may not think that I am, yeah, 25 on the nose. I haven't pulled a mythical in a good long while, so I can book a couple of mythicals at the moment. So I'm not as hungry for mythical tomes at the moment, at the expense of shards at least. And you may also notice that I'm actually pulling on the first day, which is abnormal for me. Usually I like to pull on Sunday after there's a few days to go through some other events. But in this particular instance, I was hoping to use, if I happen to get something, I was hoping to use level them up in the champion training event, but I was just so far ahead in terms of this event here because of the energy I had in reserve saved for the next champion training thing that we're already done within the first 2 days. So it doesn't really matter about waiting a few days to see if we can get something better, because we've already maxed out this. And yeah, we'll just bank whoever we pull, if anyone, legendary speaking, for the next time and level them up accordingly. Now, popping into the portal, let's take a look at the overall shard count, my account at the moment. We have 606 on the Ancients, of which of course we'll be dipping into today, 226 on the Voids, 48 on the Primals, and 56 on the Sacreds. There is a progressive chance event going on for all of the non-Void Web of Corruption champions, but I have all of them. I did both of the fusions, I did both of the guarantees, so I have all 4 of the champions, so I don't really care about trying to get them. Moreover, even if you put them in the slot and you do get a legendary, that's only like a 6% chance that the one that pops out is going to be the one that you chose, so it doesn't really matter. And yeah, I'd rather gamble on the entire pool of champions versus take a slim chance to get a duplicate that I probably don't realistically need on my account at the moment. Now, in terms of Mercy, let me pop up my Mercy tracker on the screen here. You can see that we are still, relatively speaking, fresh off of a legendary from the last time I pulled Ancients. I think it was during the last 2x Ancients, to be fair. And yeah, we're kind of fresh off a legendary, so we'll just see what happens. We're at the mercy once again of our Jesus, and we'll see if anything happens. Obviously, we can pull a bunch of Ancients and get absolutely no legendaries. We could pull a few and get a ton. We'll just have to see what happens. And if we build up Mercy, then maybe we'll be set up for an Ancient Pogo, but we also just had one fairly recently, like I think either this month or last month. And so I think that's a pretty far away situation. So I'm not really banking on that building up Mercy in that regard. So if we do happen to get a legendary, then who are my top champions? So my top 3 at the moment are Martyr, Psydax, and Freya. However, there's a special caveat for a Rhodos, because if I can get one more copy of Rhodos, then I could take my existing Rhodos all the way out to +4 from +3, so that could be exciting for me personally on my account. Before we jump in though, I did complete the summon pool, because you can see we have the 40 prism fragments here, so we can shoot our shot and see if we are fortunate enough to get the Duchess that I've been seeking for years and years, or the Cheshire Cat, or a legendary in general, who really knows. But most likely, we're going to pull this and get a lovely epic champion worth 250 points, and it's a Phenax. Awesome. Unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, to be honest, my Phenax is fully awakened and fully empowered, so a duplicate copy of him will not do all that much for me, but of course, Phenax is a really solid champion. Great multipliers on his A1, and he can absolutely put people in the dirt when it comes to using that ability, which also has block revive. So now, without further ado, let's dive right in. We've got 80 slots. Hopefully that's enough, but we might have to make some more room as things carry on. We're at 300 points in the champion chase, and let's dive right into the shard pulls. We've got loads of cash, and honestly, at this point, I am kind of looking for some good luck. I would like to see at least one legendary from today's session, but of course, none of that is not guaranteed. I guess in terms of epic rates and whatnot, I do want to see 2 epics per 10 pop is kind of good as a baseline. This is one of those newer Argonites, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think she was the fusion champion, right? Yeah, I don't think she was that interesting because I never even read her kit, but nonetheless I do have a copy of her now, so I can save that. And just in case she does become useful, then Rockbreaker, decent, Faction Wars, Curse City Champion if you need dwarves who can provoke. But yeah, in terms of epics, obviously we're going to get a tons of those along the way here. Duplicate epics for empowerment are always going to be useful, but more importantly, I am on the hunt for Galatea. I forgot what her first name is in the game. Lionsguard, I think, maybe. But yeah, Argonite Nuker, who has the potential to block revive and just be a good solid DPS. I'm keen to get her just for the sake of the future, where she might be useful in Faction Wars and that Faction Crypt when it opens eventually. Melga Steel Girdle, decent reviver for the dwarves, but after Hilvi came out, she definitely took a sideline on my account. But if you don't have Hilvi, you didn't go for her, then Melga is pretty much your only option in terms of epic accessible revivers for the dwarves. 340 is not what you want to see. Another 340 is also not what you want to see. Vergus, okay champion. He had a lot of claim to fame way back in the day. Destroy set solo Scarab King, but he's just an annoying champion to kill, but not impossible to kill. So it's not as exciting anymore, at least in the current meta. Scarab King has a lot of solutions nowadays, so you don't really have to worry about that. Oh, legendary, what do we get? And oh, not feeling very lucky, but we did get a Killian the Lucky. That is that might be the 4th copy of him on my account. We'll double check that in the Faction Guardians a bit later, but yeah, he's an okay champion. I use him for like the Curse City, where he's applicable attack based, magic affinity type stuff, but he has a potential to 2-turn stun, which can be good, but his main claim to fame is the AoE block active skills, which can be a form of soft CC on a 4-turn cooldown. He's okay. He does work in those niche areas, but he's not like a game-changing, game-breaking champion. Regardless, though, that is good for the rates. That's good for the champion chase. We're not going to complain too much. We should be somewhere around 2,300-ish points so far, so about halfway to our legendary fragments from the champion chase. Can we get 2 epics in this 10 pop? Yes. Can we get 3? Being a little greedy here. No. 580. All right. So we're getting like average to below average epic rates, but getting a legendary kind of helps balance it out a little bit. I have honestly nothing to say about Knight Errant or Umatogi, which is quite unfortunate. So around 3,000 points now or so in the champion chase. Maeve is also not great, but I think she does empower Jamarza, so that is helpful to me for empowering her, making her stronger. I think I use her in 1 Curse City stage, so her being tankier is always a good thing. Talia, relatively underwhelming epic in the current state of affairs, but another 2 epic 10 pop, cannot complain. But I don't think, or maybe no, I don't think we've gotten a single 10 pop thus far with 3 epics until just now. There we go. We willed it into existence. Ultimate Garlic. Like, if you are absolutely desperate for an epic HP burn AoE champion, semi AoE champion, then he can be the guy, but in most cases you're better off with like a Mordecai. Stag Knight, really solid debuffer. Definitely falls off a little bit late game, but he can be useful if you don't have any other types of champions who are better or superior at that role. And then Bonekeeper, decent nuker from what I've heard, but all single target. Should be around 4,300 or so in the champion chase, and we might actually be at 80 ancients pulled now, so we definitely will have to make some space to carry on out to the 5,500. Is this an all blues? Oof, you hate to see it, but yes, the dreaded all blues. All right, I'll make some space and we'll be right back. All right, we've got 30 extra spaces. Hopefully that is enough room. I checked on the champion chase to double check my math, and we're at 4,400 points so far. So we need just over 1,000, i.e. roughly around 4 epics or so, depending upon RNG, of course. So hopefully we can get at least 4 epics in the next 30 ancients and close this one out. Although I wouldn't mind getting another legendary, but we already got our 1 for the day, so not too bent out of shape. 10 pull of rares is exactly the opposite of what you want to see. So we got 20 rares back to back there, which means we're practically guaranteed an epic. There we go. There's that one. Can we get 2 or 3 or anything? No, just the 1. Not looking good here for the 30 spaces. Adriel, not much to say about her either, unfortunately. Like reflect damage, I think, and a little bit of a heal. She's more of annoying as like an enemy combatant than she's useful as a champion. Oh, saved at the last second there. Triple epic. That should do it. Sanguinia is probably the only one that's really worth talking about here, but she's okay. Again, like a Curse City niche content champion, but she is useful for this ability here because she can do a full cleanse on your team and transfer them all to a target. So this is good for Dragon, good for like Nether Spider, stuff like that, because it's effectively a full cleanse, but also a debuff transfer. And then she also has a little bit of healing, block debuffs in the kit as well. So yeah, I do think that will have done it just barely, if not a little bit overshot. But I must say, honestly, we didn't really get that good of rates in terms of epics. But again, can't really complain because we did walk away with one legendary, although it might not be the most useful for my account, but we'll double check that as well. So we got our relic fragments, we got a legendary tome, got some more relic fragments. The Chaos Aura is definitely the main thing I care about here, which is kind of sad. But that's just the current state of my account being super endgame. If we hop over to the Guardian Ring, we could double check. I know that Bannerlords for me is already 10 out of 10, but I do believe that this is... Yes, it is Killian number 4. So we do have a quad stack now of Killian. So he joins the ranks of the amount of champions that I have 4 copies of. I think it's basically 3 or 4 champions now. I have 4 copies of Helior being another one of them. But this is good for me though, long term, because I do have Edward Kenway on my account, even though I haven't really built him out because I just don't have the gear for him at the moment. Still waiting for good Savage and or lethal pieces to build him out. However, as you just saw, we swapped out 2 Heliors for the Killian the Lucky, meaning that in some future state, when I actually do build out and start using Edward, I can automatically take him to +2 right away because I have 2 spare Heliors to throw into him without impacting my Faction Guardian slots. So I guess that could be the silver lining for today's session. It is long-term beneficial to have an extra duplicate copy of Killian the Lucky. And so yeah, with that, that is going to do it for today's shard pulling video. Let me know in the comment section down below if you were also pulling 4-2X Ancients, and what, of course, what you got from your summons, if you got anything. Hopefully you got better luck, at least at the very least, in terms of epic rates, but hopefully you also got more legendaries than myself in terms of however many shards you opted to pull. As always, if you did enjoy this video, then be sure to hit that like button down below. It really does help out the channel, and feel free to hit the subscribe button down below as well, if and only if you're enjoying the content overall on this channel for more content just like this one in the future. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.